It has come 6 o'clock Monday evening, and I am so excited to be here. I trust that you guys had a good day. Welcome welcome all to the Real Dialogue. For those of us who have just joined us, the Real Dialogue is an initiative of the Real Village. And the idea with the Real Dialogue is each week we get to put on the chair one of the continent's change makers. And what do we mean by that? We mean people that are not just successful in what they do, be it academia, business, civil society, sports, arts. So these are people that have mastered their craft, number one. But number two, they use that as a platform to serve others. And of course, today we are concluding a very special edition, Women Month edition. We've had 5 guests, and what a way to end it. We are ending it with your girl and South Africa's deputy mother, the FAB academic, Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng. And she is about to join me now. And there she is. Prof Gethi, good evening to you.
Good evening, Stevie. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Man, thank you so much for honoring the invite. I know how busy you are. Wake up after 3 a.m. And we're going to speak about that. Hashtag past 3 a.m. group. And how was your day, though? How was your day? It's 6 o'clock now. Must have had a long day. How was it?
It's been a long day. I've been sitting here since 5 o'clock. I've made a point to stand up a few times during the day, but it was a busy day. So I ran out of one meeting to have 15 minutes before I get into this one. So, but productive. I can't complain. It's been productive.
I'm glad. And I mean, you are not in Cape Town. You're actually in Gauteng at the moment. Work related or a break?
Well, I'm working. I mean, with remote working, one can work anywhere. So I came to see my mother. So, and today I'm here, and I will drive to Cape Town at the end of the week.
Okay.
Yes.
I cannot believe that we're having this conversation. Remember, we've spoken about this. I had invited you for our launch last year, but of course you could not come, and there were other plans that we had that I was hoping that you're going to be part of. But of course, COVID-19 happened, and I thought, we've got to have you though for the Real Dialogue, and you were gracious enough to accept that invitation. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
That was a no-brainer. When I read your email, there was no other answer to give but a yes. So.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Well, welcome to the Real Dialogue. As I've mentioned at the beginning of this, what we want to do with this platform is to challenge the prevalent narrative that Africans are not involved strategically, practically, and in a tangible way with solving their social problems, and that we only have empty bowls and waiting for those that are from the outside to actually help us. And so what we want to do with this platform is to actually debunk that myth and put and show that there are people that are actually using their platforms to serve others and give to others and give of themselves, especially giving to those that are normally overlooked, a philanthropy service. And you are an embodiment of that. And that's why it's very precious to me to have you on this planet. Not just a planet, but platform as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, it has got to start somewhere. Pretoria, Garangua, talk to me about your upbringing. Where were you born?
Yeah, so I was born in Pretoria, but not in Garangua, in Eastwood. So if you are old enough, you remember that the Group Areas Act was introduced.
Sure.
and Black people were required to move from the areas that were close to cities. And they were moved around 60, 65, 66, 66, they were supposed to move. And there were a lot of black people across the country who were refusing to move.
Yeah.
So in Pretoria, the Black people were in areas like Selborne and Eastwood. And so my mother's family was in Eastwood. So I was born in Eastwood. They were part of the family. They were part of the group that was refusing to move when the apartheid government was saying they should move. So, and I was born at the end of 1966. And that was the time that the pressure to move was on. The pressure to continue 1967. And so, you might remember the slogans, ons gaan nie daar, ons polai. That was the sort of there's even songs to that, So yeah, so I was born in Eastwood. And then Ga-Rankuwa was an area where the people who were moved from Selborne and Eastwood were moved to Ga-Rankuwa. The people who were from Firetown were moved to Soweto and so on. So Eastwood and Selborne were the people who were moved to Ga-Rankuwa. That's why my family, my parents ended up in Ga-Rankuwa. So born in Eastwood, but ended up in Ga-Rankuwa because of where Black people were moved. But then, of course, Black people had village as well. Black people also in village. So where my paternal grandparents are in Marapiani. So part of my young life was spent there as well.
Pretoria girl, and through and through. Now, talk to me about your schooling. Where which schools did you go to, and what kind of a learner were you? Have you always known that this was the path?
No. Here's the thing. I mean, some things. So poverty is an interesting thing because poverty comes with disadvantage, and it makes what people never talk about is that it makes some things unthinkables. So when you are poor, there are things that you don't think about. Like you never dream of bacon and egg. Or, if you've never seen bacon, you might not even know that there's something called bacon. But in the same way, you never dream of being a professor because you've never met one. Or every time you see one, they don't look like you. It seems so far-fetched. So I never thought I'd be here. And I went to 7 different schools. Actually, in 12 years of basic education, I went to 7 different schools. I never spent more than 2 years in one school. The most I spent in one school was 2 years until I went to university.
Now, you've got to talk to me. Why was that? I can't just let that pass.
Of course, it sounds like I was naughty and I was getting chased out. No. It's a function of 2 things, if you like. Poverty, 3 things perhaps: poverty, family circumstances, but also politics. A change in politics. So with poverty and family circumstances comes change. When things get better, families shift children here or there, or families move you to the place where they think it will be better. Like when my mother was a domestic worker, so when she decided to go back to school, then we moved to the village to go to start school in the village. You see, so that's family circumstance because the mother had to go and do standard 6. But then there were times. Okay, so there were times when I moved. When she went to start standard 6, and after she finished Form 3, she went to do a primary teacher's course. When she finished primary teacher's course without matric, she then got a teaching job at a primary school somewhere in Ga-Rankuwa in another area. And then she said, "You must come to school where I am." But at that time, I was doing a grade 7, and so I had to go to that primary school, but I could only spend one year in that school because then that was the only grade I could do. So I did that 1 year, and then I had to find another school. But at that time, the politics of the country were changing. So the Women system came, and Witwatersrand happened to us, and the Prime Minister of Witwatersrand decided to introduce middle schools. And then I found myself in a middle school. Then because now I was in the middle school, I could only stay 2 years in that school and then move on to another one. Did you see? You see, it was different circumstances. It wasn't because I was naughty. It was just things change politically, schools change, and then you've got to move, or the mother does this, you've got to move, you know. But yeah, I ended up with 7 schools, which is interesting.
A perfect number, 7 biblically. And and then at home, and any siblings? How many were you?
Well, I was born with 2 siblings, my brother, older brother, and younger sister. But we also have an adopted brother. We have an adopted brother who's the youngest.
Sure.
Yeah. So we are 4.
Sure.
With him, yeah.
4 of you. Okay. And so it's 2 girls and 2 boys. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And all of them still alive?
Yes. Thank God.
Beautiful.
Thank God.
Beautiful. Looks like people are already exciting. So many people have already joined us. And now, talk to me about your schooling. 7 schools in basic education, and then the transition into tertiary education.
Let me tell you something. I mean, it's interesting when you grow up poor, right? I went last week with some television crew. They were doing a documentary, whatever, and I took them to the school, and I said to them, one of the things about growing up at that time is that there was a break time at 11 o'clock, a 30-minute break. And at that time, that's when children who have money, they go to buy some food at the shop, and the rest of us go home. People go home to eat, right?
Sure.
But you would go home even when you know there's nothing to eat.
Sure.
You go home, and then you take a 10 in the house and go back to school. And then every day at school at around 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, inevitably there will be at least one learner fainting at school. I've also fainted many times at school, and we always thought, we always thought we are sick. They take you to the sick room, but hey, the issue is that we were hungry. You're hungry, blood pressure goes, sugar levels go down, you start getting dizzy. So it was an interesting thing, because you'd go home, you don't eat, you come back, you drink water, you come back, you sit there, you keep waking, you feel dizzy, you faint, they take you to and then the teachers give you sugar to eat, or an apple, and then you're fine. After school, you go home, and it was an everyday thing. It's interesting that it became so normalized that the children in the school faint after break. Sometime after break, before school out, you faint, and that's it. The teachers knew how to deal with it, but you go home, and then 2 o'clock you go home. You have an hour break. 3 o'clock you come back. From 3 to 4 is study time, and then 4 o'clock school used to end at 4. I mean, it never used to end at 2. It used to end at 4. But the rest of the time it was study time.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the love and the choice of mathematics, has it always been there, even during basic education?
No, I mean, it started at grade 10, and it's an interesting development, because it was after I had gone to winter school. My parents took me to winter school when I was doing grade 10, and the winter school was in another school, not the one that I was going to, and the winter school was focusing on mathematics. The teacher, here's the thing, the teacher taught us Euclidean geometry, introduced us to Euclidean geometry, like basic, like from what is an axiom, what is a theorem, why don't you prove an axiom, you prove a theorem, how do you know? But what he did in the way that he introduced it, he made mathematics make sense. Yeah, so it was at winter school that I got the sense of mathematics, that mathematics started making sense.
Sure.
And because it made sense, I enjoyed it. Because it made sense. It was not because it was easy. It was because it made sense. Then I enjoyed it. But because I enjoyed it, I studied it more. And because I studied it more, then I passed it. I mean, it's an interesting interesting thing. So people say because is it because you found it easy? No, it wasn't easy. It's just that it was the fact that finally I understand what this thing means.
Sure.
If I'm solving an equation, I knew how to check whether my answer is correct or not, or I could actually see that I'm actually way off the mark, because it makes sense. And he told us that you don't just do things in the dark. You always have to know, even when you don't know the answer, you know that I don't know here. You know what's the missing puzzle. So he made it sense in that way. And it's interesting when you make something make sense, then I like it, then I do it more, and then I pass it, and then it looks like it's easy, but it's not easy.
And tell me, the mission, when did you start? Somebody said that we don't create our missions, but we dictate it. But the mission to make education fashionable, when did that start consuming you?
I think I've always, I guess I've always been passionate about education. And I grew up in a family, my dad was very passionate about education. He made us believe that it is a way out of poverty. But when I started sharing, I think social media makes so many things possible. When I got into social media, people don't know how I got into social media. I started with Facebook. And it was because I was a professor. Many parents were writing to me emails and saying, I want you to come in. I want to bring my daughter to you. I want them to meet you. I want that you inspire them, blah, blah, blah. And I wasn't at UCT. I was here in Joburg. And then I thought I would agree to meet with the parents. So I would meet parents with their daughters, with their sons. And then I realized, actually, this is impossible. I can't meet with all the parents. I must just get on social media. They can meet me there. Then I can I can talk with all of them all at once. That's how I got onto social media. Once I was there, I realized, damn, this thing is powerful, man. Somewhere I think in 2014, it might be 2014, I started this campaign of hashtag make education fashionable. And I started it in this way. I thought, because I was doing motivational talks and I was telling my story, every time I tell my story, people would tell me their story. I thought each one of us has got a story, Each one of us has a story. No Black person succeeds without a story. We do have a story because we don't have many people. So there's some inspiration. There's some. It's a story of victory, a story of triumph. And I thought, I can get more people to tell their stories. And I thought, my story, there are so many sides to my story. I can tell it this way, this part, this year, next year I tell this part, the other year, just like that. So I put it out there and I said, 1st of December, we are all telling our stories. Tell your story. Hashtag make education fashionable. Hashtag tell your story. And I start on the morning and I do a builder. And on the morning of the 1st of December, I put my story and people put their stories. And you will not believe the powerful stories that have come through. And by the way, you also will not believe that many young people have had opportunities because they shared their story there. Every year, there's at least one story that trends, that breaks the internet. And one memorable one is of a woman from Zimbabwe who had gone to vets, and she had just finished her doctorate in neuroscience. In neuroscience. And she told her story that her parents died when she was 16. They were HIV positive, didn't have treatment. She has 3 siblings. She said she raised her siblings. She went to university, fortunately through bursaries. And she said, I just graduated with my neuroscience a PhD. It broke the internet.
I remember, yeah.
Every time she sometimes retweets the story, it does this. It's got the same effect. She got a job. First of all, she got a postdoc that took her out of Zimbabwe. 6 months later, after that postdoc, she got a full-time job. The people who employed her keep writing to me and telling me how amazing she is. I've met with her. Amazing. She got to sit on some international scientific body. She got international attention just by being on that, sharing her story, a profound story. So, and every year there's a story, at least one story that trends. You know, so I thought people are sharing their story to inspire those who are coming up. But then that hashtag Make Education Fashionable is also exposing the people who are sharing their stories to potential partners, collaborators, and people who help them, who give them opportunities, which is fantastic.
Sure. And for me, this is one of the things, and I think a lot of people mistakenly think that you started doing all these things when you joined UCT. I mean, this has been there for years. This has been there, and you've been very consistent at it. And you've happily, shared. One of the things I've admired about you over the years is how you have used your platform to create platforms for others. As this story that you've just shared, and basically illustrating that indeed it takes the village to raise a child, and I really admire that about you. Now,
can I tell you one of the crazy things that I've done, by the way, on social media? Not whilst I was at UCT, I did it whilst I was at UNISA. People think craziness starts at UCT. I was born this way, right? Okay, so
we'll get there.
Back in, I think it was 2009 or 2010, I put on social media. I was a dean of the College of Science, Engineering, and Technology at UNISA. And the School of Computing was so untransformed. It was white people, no black people. It was a lot of white women, and the faculty had to move to the Florida campus. They didn't want to move. They were busy resigning, and it was like I said to them, "No, but we can transform." They said, "No, there are no black people." What? So I left them because they said, and then I wrote on Facebook. I wrote on Facebook, if you have an honors degree in IT, IS, or information systems, IT, or something. Send me in computing, basically. If you have an honors degree in computing, send me a direct message with your email address, and then I want to talk to you. I'm looking for people, and I said I'm looking for young black graduates. They wrote black South African. The young people flooded my DM. They flooded me with DMs. I wrote to them. I wrote to them, send me your CV. I told them we've got an opportunity. We interviewed them. We had 12 of them. We got them. We gave them a job. They couldn't believe it. Many of them never thought of academia. I hired them. My vice-chancellor at that time was horrified. He said, "How can you do this?" I said to them, "What do I have to lose?" And at that time, it was Professor Bani Pichana. That man, I will never forget him. He allowed me to be crazy. He created space for me in my craziness to break the boundaries. I got these young people, gave 12 of them jobs.
Wow.
And then we put them on a mentorship program for 2 years. We put them, I got people, one of these white people who said that the black people don't exist. I said, you mentor them. We got a team. You mentor them. We have a program. They mentored them. The young people were on fire, man. 2 years later, all of them had permanent jobs at UNISA. Only one of them had resigned. See, that was in 2010. Right now, a few of them have got doctorates.
Wow, man.
They keep writing to me, "Prof, thank you. Now I got my doctorate." They are academics. They never thought of being academics, but now they are academics. Some of them are registered for their PhDs. Some of them already have PhDs. And it started with a crazy idea of going on Facebook. Twitter wasn't there then. I think I wasn't on Twitter at least. I just wrote, I'm looking for young people who want to be in academia. If you're looking at for a job, you have an honors degree, write to me. And we did that, and it worked. I didn't even know them. And we created opportunity. I still do some crazy things, but it's very risky when you're busy.
I know we will touch some of those. I did tell you earlier on that others I will deliberately stay away from, but others it looks like we're going to have no choice but to speak about. And
Yes.
and the past 3 a.m. squad.
Another crazy idea.
That's crazy. How do you maintain that? Look at me. I got you at 6 o'clock, still energetic, and at past 3 a.m.
Yes, powerful idea. Powerful.
What does it mean for you? What has it meant for you, Khethi?
It gives me an opportunity to connect with students who look at me, because I started with the idea of I wake up at 3 o'clock. So don't look at me with lipstick and think I sleep until 9. No, that's not success. Sure. I get up early and I work. So every morning when I wake up, I started this practice of putting an inspirational message and hashtag past 3 a.m. squad. I used to also have hashtag ulala kanjani ungena degree, hashtag ulala kanjani ungena PhD. Ulala kanjani ungena ungekho ku Forbes list. You know? Vuka uzenzele. So those were my hashtags, right? So then the young people started following, and then they would DM me with questions. And then as things go on, the community started growing, because I said to them, if you want, just get up with me. When I became VC, it became clear that it was too taxing. I can't do it every day. But the community was big. I mean, I would walk into a clinic. I walked into a clinic in Sandton in Joburg one day, and the woman who cleans at the clinic jumps at me and says, "Hey, I'm a member of the past 3 a.m. squad." I'm like, wow. And she starts thanking me there, and I said, yes, and we hug, whatever. And that's the power of virtual communities. You can make them powerful. Now, what we did when I became VC, I then identified people who are very active on the past 3 a.m. squad. And one day I announced one of them. I chatted with one of them. I mean, when I travel, some of the people don't know. I DM them and I say, I'll be in Kimberley, can we meet? And I meet them for tea and I get to know them. So I met this one who is a student at UJ, is now an academic at UJ. We met and I said to him, I want you to help me run this thing. This is a powerful thing. We support other people. It's a community. He said, great. Then I announced him on Twitter as the CEO of the hashtag past 3 a.m. squad. Charles. Charles became the CEO. I just announced, and people took onto him. Charles ran it. A year later, we got a COO. Momo became the COO. They're running it. You won't believe. I meet with them online once every 2 weeks. We plan. I talk to them, and what they do is we answer questions for people on the Twitter. People ask questions. How do I do reference? How do I do this? This group of young people, some of who, by the way, I've never met face to face. They're the leadership of the past 3 a.m. squad. And it is the virtual community that supports one another, and if they don't know the answer, they just call me and I say to them, yeah, do this, do that, and then they write there to say, yeah, you can do this, da 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 da. That's how you build community. I don't know. I don't have to know that. They don't have to be UCT students. It's irrelevant where they. It's irrelevant. It's young people who are passionate about education. They want to get ahead. They ask questions. We support them.
Now tell me. Tell me. I've got to ask this because it's going to lead me to the. Of course, I mean, you gave me permission and I gave you permission to put away the notes when it comes to this conversation. It's just going to be organic. Yeah. We're just having this conversation. So the questions are out. Now, the one thing that anybody that gets to meet you, that they walk away with is that this is the girl next door. Like sharp, the energy, and now, though I have got to answer though. I mean, I've got to ask this. the truth is, if you are going to occupy the seat that you are currently occupying, or the space, not just this particular position, but that space where you have been operating for the last number of years, there is a certain etiquette, there is a certain way of doing things, and sadly, sometimes, we appreciate and we see that more and more women are getting these positions, but it looks like sometimes we just want to see them but not hear them. And the moment where there is one that wants to be heard, and all hell breaks loose, and you're seen. How have you experienced that people just want to see you and not hear you, and how are you dealing with that?
That it's true though, and I have to say, it is not just about women, it's also about blackness. It's about being a black woman, because we as black women are sort of supposed to be at the bottom of the list, or at the back of the queue. Sure. And so with this transformation move, even when people appoint you, the expectation is that we are appointing you, but we want to tune you.
Sure.
You must be tuned.
Sure.
And assimilating to this mold that we want. So I have experienced that. But the issue is that you can never serve. In my view, I can't serve without being myself.
Sure.
They will not get the best of me. I will not do a good job. You have to come in your wholeness, and then you can serve. If you come in your wholeness, I have to be authentic. I don't want to remember, by the way, how I should behave. By the way, what mold I should, that always. Then I will not. I want to free my brain space to think about the things that I need to do, without thinking that, by the way, that's not allowed, or it's not allowed to walk too loudly. Don't talk to students. Don't talk an African language with black students. You must always speak English with the. No, I wouldn't be able to serve. And I think it's about time. I think this is the time for authentic leadership, actually. And by the way, it doesn't mean you will not get pushback if you are an authentic leader. You will get pushback. But the fact that you get pushback doesn't mean we should close the door on authentic leadership. It is the time for authentic leadership. The time for assimilation is over. You see, when the students were protesting, fees must fall, roads must fall, and they were saying they don't want to assimilate as students to whiteness. It is the same thing. We as black women, leaders, do not want to assimilate to whiteness, because what people call professional is shaped by the power of masculinity and the power of white privilege. It's what whiteness will define as professional. And so you can't be too loud. Even the colorful clothes they say are a problem. Can you believe
it? I read somewhere. Yes.
It's crazy. It's insane. I must wear a dark suit. Not big earrings. Today it's fine. If I wear big ones, it's a problem.
Sure.
I have a big black afro. You have no idea that in my 360 evaluation, people wrote about my black afro. Wow. That my kinky hair is a problem. I mean, it is insane.
It is absolutely. And look. I'm gonna have to say this. You are at the forefront. You will get to face the strongest winds. You are a pathfinder, but many that will come after you years from now, will benefit from that. It has to be tough. I'm sorry, and but it's you've decided to take the road less traveled. It comes with the price, but I am so grateful for your strength and the grace with which you handle it, and for that I am proud of you, Mamokgethi.
Thank you. But you must be praying, Pela. Go Rafla.
I know. I did tell you that I'm praying for you. I did tell you. Okay, let's quickly check. I think you've touched on this already, Pastor Kotel. May Prof talk to the issue of women in academia and transformation, and I think you've touched on that one. Mamokgethi, looking beautiful as always and sharing wisdom as usual. We are here to glean. And somebody said, I'm told she's so humble and approachable. Now I understand. Oh my goodness. Okay, somebody commenting on your on leaving school early.
Yes.
Yes. And very true. They were faint, you can read. I don't need to read all of this.
I can read. I can read.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You are a pro after all. Look, there are so many comments, but we'll touch them. We'll touch them earlier. And then to your work. So many firsts. I couldn't keep up. So I was going actually through. Let me just check this. You became first Black South African researcher to be appointed to co-chair a study commissioned by the International Commission on Mathematical Instruction called Mathematics and Language Diversity, and so many firsts. And but it is so amazing how you have not allowed that to shape you, and let me tell you, I promise you, when I think about you, I have got to remind myself of your NRF rating. I have got to remind myself of what you have done. But the one thing that comes to mind is making education fashionable, and you have become an embodiment of that. And you could not have chosen the right title, Fab Academic. Absolutely, I love it. I love it.
I didn't choose that myself. Even the deputy mother, I didn't design it. The things that I designed are the hashtags. Some of them. The Fab Academic was designed by one lady at UNISA, Usis Tandi, Dr. Sizuma Mazibuk. When I got to UNISA, she used to say to me, every time she used to say, "You look fabulous." And then she would say, "Fabulosity, you are such a fab academic, you are," and she and initially I was getting irritated with her, like, sister, Tandi, man, just call me Khet. And she says, "No, fabulosity." And then I thought, yeah, what the hell? I should just embrace this, I thought I should just and use it. So I took it and then I used it. When I became VC at UCT, people say, "Oh, she's so full of herself. She's calling herself a fab academic." And I thought, I did think, should I remove this? And then I thought, what the hell? People must get on with the program. I came here with the thing. It's got nothing to do with it.
It's not about to change.
Yeah, it's like telling Madonna to stop being Madonna. Come on. And then the deputy mother came from vets.
Sure.
The deputy mother was a student at vets who was working for the student newspaper at vets. It's called Vuvuzela, and she interviewed me. Annelisa too. So she's now a journalist, and we got close and we talked, and we got so close, like many other students. She started calling me deputy mother. She said, "You are my mother in Gauteng." She's from the Eastern Cape, Annelisa. And she called me deputy mother, and then others kept taking it on. And then she started writing it on Twitter. And then one day I signed off as deputy mother. And then everyone started using it. And people thought I gave it to myself, or they thought it's UCT students. I'm like, no, it's not UCT students. And I didn't give it to myself. It's actually a vet student. So it's not like I'm starting to relate with students at UCT. You can go to vets, you can go to UNISA. I relate with students. And the work that I do of Adopt a Learner, we supported students from different universities in the country. So I didn't design these names, but I thought, wow, it is, you should accept sometimes when when people give you they call you by these names, because they could have called me by other names that are not so. So I thought accept and use them.
Sure. And another first PhD Black woman, mathematics. You know, as I was going through, man, I'm not going to be mentioning this first because I just cannot keep up with this first.
But here's the thing. I should call you Pastor because kuna mahamendela enkonzweni today.
Yes, sure.
Here's the thing, Pastor. Here's the thing. You know, it's fine to be the first.
Sure.
But it's problematic if you take this title of being the first just as a title to boast about. Must challenge you to do something. And I have used these things of being the first as a challenge to myself, as a way to create a path. Because when they told me I was the first to get a PhD in mathematics education, the first Black South African woman, I thought, I don't want to be the last. And then I thought, if I don't want to be the last, so what am I going to do? I must do something. I didn't sit there and make a speech and organize the toy and say, I don't want to be the last. I decided I'm going to do something to make sure that I'm not the last. And that's when I started the foundation, Adopt Elena. And I said, I'm going to be that sister that young Black children don't have. Like I didn't have a sister who could show me that actually it's possible to be a professor. And I started at high school and then I grew it into university, and we support Black students who have completed their matrics either in rural or township schools. I don't raise money for it. I work for the money. We've done it since 2004. Some of the students are now doing PhDs in data science, in mathematics. Some have got BTech degrees. Some have IT qualifications. They're in Durban. They're all over the country. And some of them are not even South Africans. There's 2 students that we supported who came from the DRC, who studied at UNISA. So you've got to use it as a challenge, not just as something that you just mentioned. So I own it. Rather than getting angry at people who say I'm the first, I decided I must own it and use it to challenge myself to do something much more meaningful that will create a path for people like me so that there's more of us in this area of study.
Now, we can't conclude this conversation without reflecting on this one. You are one of only 2 Black women to have been VCs of UCT. Ironically and interestingly enough, the second one, Dr. Ramphele, is joining us next week. And
she's amazing. She's amazing. And let me tell you, Pastor, she's so supportive of me. People do not know that. Mamphele is so supportive. I can call her anytime. I can call her at 1 o'clock.
She's incredible.
I can call her at 1 o'clock crying and say to her, I don't understand what these people are saying. Why are they doing this to me? And she will sit me down and we will talk. People see me like this. They say I'm strong. All these things are happening. I may look like I'm standing alone. I'm not. There are strong women who have walked the journey, who have experienced the same things, and who are saying to me, keep focused, keep going. You are doing a good job. And Dr. Ramphele is one of them. She's number one in that. In the same way as she will call me and say, Kgethi, this is not on.
Sure.
She will also call me and say, Kgethi, I saw this is amazing. You are doing a great job. And I set up meetings with her. When things are tough, I meet with her every week. Every week. And she's a child of God. So she will share. She will share she shares from the Bible to philosophy to everything.
Sure.
The other day, let me tell you something here. The other day I said to her, I've been drinking sleeping tablets because I've been struggling to sleep, with all of these things. But I want to stop, man. I want to stop. It's not a hardcore sleeping tab. It's a slow release.
Sure.
I don't want to get used to it. And he said, the doctor prescribed that to you. I said, yes. And she said, and the doctor had a reason for prescribing that to you. I said, yeah, it's because, I'm struggling to sleep, I'm thinking a lot, blah, blah, blah. And she said, so you want to stop? I said, yes. And she said, so you are like, you have a wound that is bleeding. And you are saying to me, you want to remove the bandage and continue bleeding. Is that what you want to do? And I laughed so hard because I was like, the analogy is so apt.
Sure,
and she said, and of course, I often forget she's a medical doctor. She said, I know the tablet. That's not an addictive tablet. It's a slow release. It's not going to get you addicted. The doctor has prescribed it for you for a particular period. Take it for that particular period. Let the wound heal. And then you can remove the bandage. You can't remove the bandage before. We as Black people, we are the first generation sort of these professionals. My mother doesn't understand what it means to be VC.
Sure.
She can't offer me the kind of support that Mampela can. Mampela understands. Mampela understands, and she can analyze this with me and say, keep going.
Thanks for that. I'm sure she's going to appreciate. We'll look up. We will reflect on you next week with her. I'm sure. But
Amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. She's an incredible woman, gracious as well. And now tell me, Prof Kgethi.
Yeah.
Your term as VC.
Yeah.
What is the one thing that even if everything else that you have in mind were not to come true, were not to be realized, but if this one thing happens, then you know what, it was worth it.
Yeah.
What's the one thing you cannot fail on?
That I cannot fail. It takes time to change some of these things, but I'll tell you 3 things.
Sure.
And the one is the achievement gap between Black and white students. Closing the achievement gap. This idea that when you look at the performance in any module at UCT, and you compare the performance of Black students and white students, you get a graph that goes like that. Doesn't sit right with me.
Sure.
It doesn't sit right with me. And you know why? It's because when we admit students to UCT, we admit them on the same requirements, academic requirements. So they meet the requirements. So the question I ask is, why suddenly after they join us, they are not able? What is going on? Is it because we don't know how to teach Black students? Is it because how we teach? Is it what we teach? Is it how the environment welcomes them? We've got to get to the bottom of this. And that's something that when I went into office, I looked at. And there's one department where I've seen lately the gap is closing. I won't mention the name, but I can see in the modules it's trying to catch up, but it's my biggest concern. That's the one thing. I said 3 things, right?
Yes.
and the second thing is, the second thing I would like to succeed in is I would like it to be impossible to count the number of Black professors with the fingers and my toes. I want when I count them that I can't use my fingers. The number of Black African, South African full professors. At the moment, I don't even need sticks. I can use my hands and my toes. It's just 11.
Sure.
I can even tell you where they are. I can tell you, where they were born. This is not acceptable. I want to say, I don't remember. Let me go and check. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Right now, I can just, that keeps me awake at night.
Sure.
And why does it keep me awake at night? Pastor, we are South Africa, and the majority of people in this country, more than 80% of people in this country are Black Africans.
Sure.
We cannot have the top university in the country with so few. Okay, so that keeps me awake at night.
Sure.
The third and last thing is the institutional culture, and a sense that everyone feels they belong. I would like any child, even if you come from Winterfeld or Ekunu or Mbundlov, and you come to UCT, you mustn't feel like you have to explain yourself as to how you got there. During orientation, I engage with students, right? And when I engage with students, I hear their stories that this student has been accepted to UCT, and they are here, it's orientation, they're supposed to be excited, and they say to me, Prof, even at my school, they are shocked that I'm here. I'm shocked. I'm the only one who comes. And I say to them, why are you shocked? They say, no, I'm the only one in my village and in my school. Teachers are even wondering. And I have to sit and say, you are here because you deserve it. I want this thing of being shocked to go away. That a student coming from anywhere in the country, accepted to UCT, can say, I worked for it.
Sure.
I deserve to be here, and I'm going to make it happen. When you are shocked and you think you behave as if, some mountains had to be moved so that you get accepted to UCT, already it deals with your confidence. You get into class, it's almost like you are already saying you don't deserve to be there.
You're apologetic.
You're apologetic. And that sense of being apologetic, that's what the people who don't want us in the space, they want us to be intimidated, insecure, and apologetic because they don't want us to feel that it's our space too. So I don't want that. I would like an institutional culture change that make every Black students coming into that space, whether they come from Michel's Plain or they feel that I have worked hard to be here and I deserve it and I'm going to make it here. You want that.
This is actually very interesting. This is actually, especially in the context, I don't know if we're going to touch, I'm looking at the time, the fallist movement and decolonization. And certainly, this is not just in academia, but even in almost in every professional space, even in the religious space, where the academic culture is synonymous with the Western culture, such that it's so natural. But for you as an African to survive in the academic culture and set up, you have got to give up so much of who you are, how you speak, how you sound. You even have to work on your accent. You even have to work on how you appear. It's
we
crazy.
We must reject that. Those of us who are educated, we must reject that. That's why they don't like people who break boundaries, you see, because we are breaking this mold.
You are rebels.
We are rebels.
We are rebels with a cause.
We have a cause.
Yeah, we've got a cause. Rebels with a cause. I love that. And quickly going through some messages. I
see my sister here also on the Nolundi, Quinana. That's so good to see her.
Oh, there she is again. I like it when you say it. Yes. There she is. I'm her pastor, by the way. She's my member as well. I promise you, when she sacrificed her inauguration at UCT, which would have splashed millions in less than a week of festivities and celebrations, but they rather channeled the money to financially struggling students. Oh, man.
By the way, it wouldn't have just been festivities, whatever. It would have been exclusive festivities because only some people would attend.
Sure.
They wouldn't even include other people. You know, it would have been exclusive. That's how these inaugurations work.
Sure. Not everybody is invited. Not everybody is welcome.
Yes.
Hashtag Ulala kanjani ngena PhD. I like that. Well, and then, oh my, such pressure. I'm joining the past 3 a.m. squad.
You must join, you must join.
Keep shining, Mama. And you are hosting a powerhouse today, Mfura. Blessings to her. And you are the powerhouse, not me. And so it looks like everybody past 3 a.m. squad. We are here. And okay, now, I don't know where the time went. Tell me. It takes the village to raise a child.
Yes.
And you've mentioned some of these people already. But who are the people? I know there are so many, but you want to mention a couple of that pastor, that aunt, the people that have contributed to who you are today. That village, who has been your village?
Sure, it's been such a long journey, and there are people. I mean, the academic profession, of course, doesn't have many Black people. So I've been supported by a lot of people, some of them overseas, and I always say people who are really highly achieved, who are very generous with their knowledge. So there's a woman, Professor Edla, who supported me incredibly in my academic journey. I have spoken about Mampele, who is incredibly supportive. Gracia Machel has been, since I got to UC, she's been phenomenal. There's a lot of women around me. We have a chair of council right now who is tough. She's so tough. She demands excellent and high standards, but she's very, very supportive in her demand for excellence and high standards. So I've had a lot of people at different stages in my life who have supported me in different ways. I don't know if I've mentioned a few names already. And they play different roles, So Professor Edna has been my academic mentor. Mampele is a mentor in terms of executive management and so on. You get people who support you. There's also the Chancellor of Wits University is a huge role model for me, Ujudi Dlamini.
Sure.
She's also very available. She provides wise counsel. Tough woman. Their standards are high, but they provide incredible support. So our Chancellor herself, Dr. Moloi Motsepe, is very supportive. It's good to have. I often think I'm very lucky that at this stage in my career, there are women who are sort of ahead of me, even if they're in a different space, but they sort of are involved with the academic space to be able to provide support in this very critical this critical and challenging time.
Sure. Thanks. And there is another side that a lot of people don't know about you, that you are a deeply spiritual person.
I am. I'm a body.
Exactly. Talk to me. How has your faith enabled? In fact, maybe let me ask it like this: has your faith been? Have you found it to be a liability in the spaces where you are at, or an asset? And do you think that you are able? Yeah, sure.
Definitely an asset. Definitely. I mean, even some things that I do, I often think I shouldn't do. I'm too, like, sometimes I think I'm too understanding. And sometimes some of my colleagues say that. Your level of humility is fine, but it's too much. You shouldn't do this. For a ride. People will take you for a ride. You know. So I think it's been incredibly valuable, but it's also been valuable in this sense that that I know not to depend on myself. You know, it's an incredible thing to know not to depend on yourself, because you can hand over things to the one who knows it all. When things happen, I just always, you know, I know that I can do that because I know what he has done in my life, and I know who he says I am. So even when the world or the environment wants to describe me in the way they want, I know who he says I am, and I own that which God says I am. But I can only do that because I am a child of God and I am a believer, and so his word tells me who I am, and I believe that word. That word tells me who I am, even with all my weaknesses. It tells me this is who you are. And so I own that, and I know to humble myself when I put a foot wrong. But I also know where to go when I need strong. I know where to run to when I need a refuge. And I know that even if being humble can make you stupid in front of people's eyes, it makes me great in front of him. So I do it anyway, even if you know, there's attempts to humiliate or to whatever, it doesn't matter. So it's been an incredible asset.
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the things I said to you when we spoke for the first time is that, I mean, I did tell you that I'm praying for you, and I told you why. I'm praying for you, not so much because of you. Yes, I'm praying for you. I think you're an incredible person, but I also am praying for you because I am praying for us, because your success is every Black child's success. Your success is every African's success. Your success is every Black girl's success. And the failure is as well. If you fail, then there are people that are going to be proven right. What did you expect? Exactly. And knowing that the reality, that there are people who are you know in their corners praying for you, but also to be realistic enough to be cynical and realize that there are people who just cannot wait for you to make an unreversible blunder. How do you balance that too? How do you balance that, and how do you deal with that as you go about your job every day?
You know, I know that there will always be noise. You know, there will always be noise, and I often talk about this metaphor that I've developed of, you know, when you are in a job such as mine, but actually everyone, but if you are in a job such as mine, you are always on stage. Your stage is public.
Sure.
But there's also two auditoriums that are watching you: the auditorium of haters and people who want you to fall, who are waiting for you to fall, doing all sorts of things, putting traps and all of that. But in the same way, there's an auditorium of supporters, prayer warriors, intercessors, advocates, people who are there for you. The difference is that the auditorium of haters is too loud. They make too much noise. But the fact that they make too much noise doesn't mean there's more people in the auditorium of haters. They may be having bigger loudspeakers. And the thing is that the auditorium of supporters, intercessors, and prayer warriors and advocates is quieter. Some of them are just going, keep going. They don't have loudspeakers. And so you always have to remind yourself that there's this other group whilst this one is making noise. And then I always say there's also a group of people who are too young to even be aware of the two auditoriums. They are running behind you. Where you put your foot, they put their foot. You put their foot. So every time I want to give up and I want to stop and think this is too much, I think about the auditorium that's cheering, but I also think about the ones who are coming behind me, who are wanting. And then I say, where will they step on if I stop here? Is this where they're going to stop? And what will be the story when they stop there? They might stop where they are now because then what they are looking at is no longer there, the guy that they're looking. So I remind myself all of that all the time. And then I mean, you when you grow as a young person and a Christian, you think what God wants for you, everybody wants for you. It's not true.
Not true. Yeah.
Actually, every level, I always say, has got its own devil. But God knows as God promotes you, there's a devil at that level that God promoted you to. But the good thing that we need to remind ourselves of is that God has equipped us with everything to be able to defeat the devil of the level I am at.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
And I often, so when I get these big challenges, like this year has been incredible. And then I think, my God trusts me this much.
I love that. I love that.
I mean?
I love that. I love that.
Instead of giving up and stopping, I cry and I marvel at this amazing God who thinks I am that capable. And that's why he allows these big challenges to come my way, is because he trusts you that much. It's not because he knows if you listen and you go according to his plan, you will win. What you need to do is to be patient, to have faith, but more than that, you must remain focused. Don't let the noise distract you. Don't get into the mud with the pig. Don't. Focus on who God says you are, how he has equipped, what he has equipped you with, and the fact that you have a task there. He put you in that position. There's a job to be done there. Keep doing that. He trusts you that much. So for me, that's the challenge. He trusts me this much. He knows that I can win.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, a couple of, oh man, I don't know. You should, or somebody is laughing first at rebels with a cause. And Refilwe Paswana Mafuya and support.
Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Northwest University. Yes. Good to see you.
You're comfortable with yourself.
We've got to be comfortable.
We have to.
Yes.
This is who I am, even with all my weaknesses. That resonates. I know who he says I am. That's Xhosa. You know when Xhosa, when you can't like finish and clear. Like I know who he said, finish and clear. It doesn't matter what else. Everybody. Yeah. And that are incredible. The word tells me who I am. Amen.
Yes.
Now tell me now, as we are wrapping this up. Remember, this is a Pan-African platform. Tell me, Prof Mamokgethi, was it Vicky Simpson around 1995 who sang "My African Dream"?
Yes.
Yeah. What is Mamokgethi's African dream? How does that Africa look like? What do you after that you dream about? Number one. Number two, in your opinion, what stands between us and that Africa being a reality?
Okay, so for me, the Africa that I dream of is one where where people take ownership of their lives. They get on and get things done. They don't wait for a savior, but they face the challenges of poverty, of education. And when I say everyone, I don't just mean only the people who are poor, because if we all went in to say there is no savior, we are our own savior. Sure. Nobody's going to come from another land to do this for us. For me, the Africa I dream of is the Africa that cares for itself. So caring for itself means that we're going to take the challenge of making sure that we are fine. And that might mean that we take care of the other. I don't sit here comfortable knowing that down the road some people are hungry and I'm affluent, and that's okay. And I think for me, what stands between us and the Africa that I dream of is a colonized mind. It is the colonized mind. It is not even colonial institutions, whatever. It's a colonized mind that somehow believes that the other is better, and the other has got a key to my liberation. The other has got a key to the end of poverty and inequality. Even if the other looks like our colonizer, our former colonizer, or our oppressor, we've got to free ourselves from that. The colonized mind is, for me, it's worse than a discriminatory policy, because with a colonized mind, you lock yourself into all sorts of captivity. You don't go do things. I can leave you here with resources to be a multi-billionaire. With a colonized mind, you will never be a multi-billionaire. You will still be poor, even with those resources. And so for me, that's the thing. And I think, yeah, and in a way, I sometimes feel like we've got to find a way to free ourselves. And maybe, when colonization ended, apartheid ended, in South Africa, of course, we are the people who had apartheid, but when colonization and the colonizers left, they left West Africa, they left East Africa, whatever, but they left us with the burden of coloniality. And we didn't do anything. When they left, we then started fighting as to who will take their position. So what we have, even with our liberation, we haven't changed much. We have just changed who is in the seats, but they're doing the same thing. It's almost like, of course, we did away with policies, whatever, but it's almost like the hierarchy of power is the same. And so we have the same inequality, and it's just actually it's much more, because now the rich have gotten the rich got even richer. So I think for me the burden is the colonized mind.
Wow.
And it can never go away unless we accept that our minds are colonized.
Sure. I couldn't help but to think of we are entering into August, into September, the Biko month, September, and one of the most statements that always come to mind when he says the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed.
Absolutely.
Mind of the oppressed. And
because even after the colonizer has left,
the mind.
Still do it to yourself. You do it to yourself.
You do it yourself. You do it yourself. Yep. And when you do it yourself, then there's no one who's really going to save you.
Exactly. And then you teach it to your children as well to do it. You keep reproducing it.
And and this is me now closing this. We've gone way past 7 o'clock. All right, let me keep it light. But before I keep it light, let me just ask, go through a couple of questions that or comments that have been written here. Mamokgethi, hand everything to him. You are what he says you are. Wow. And somebody says, I've got nothing but love for Deputy Mother. And Asanda Matodam Dichwa, she's power. She's an epitome of Black excellence. Love that. No, Londi Kunana, she loves the Lord.
My sister.
Every level has its own devil, but God has equipped him. Oh man. Oh, this is so touching. Trusting in God. And look, this seems to be resonating. I can't be reading all through the comments. Yeah. Let's keep it light. The last 5 before we get there. The success. I mean, where you are at, you have had to let go of certain things. It must have come at a cost. What is it that had to go away? What is it that you had to give up? What is it that you had to say no to for you to say yes to this sense of responsibility and impact?
Wow. I mean, lots of friendships. I mean, I don't. There's lots of friendships that one had to lose. And even positions in family that I'm not your usual. I'm not your. Sure. I'm not the usual name on the list of people to go and do lobola negotiations.
Sure. I'm with you.
So it is a bit of a loss, I guess. But also your privacy. I mean, I've had to make my life available because and as much as it's a loss, it's a gain for something else. I did it because I feel that it contributes, it makes a positive contribution for young girls to see someone like me and to learn from someone like me. It's a huge contribution, but it comes at a huge cost. Sure. that I have to make my life public. I mean, I try to close a lot of it. Not all of it is out there, but there's a lot that's out there. And I've had to say no to many big jobs that pay a lot of money, and
I'm glad you did. I promise you. I am so glad you did. Now let's keep it light. Your favorite African destination?
Wow. Okay, I have to listen. For different reasons, right? And I'm gonna go for the underrated northern part of Namibia, Henties Bay, Walvis Bay. Hugely underrated. Look, I mean, there are other people. I could have said Egypt because it's amazing, but I'm going to go for Namibia because it's so close. And I'm not talking Windhoek. Windhoek is not it, but I'm talking Henties Bay, Walvis Bay as we drive to the north. I have never seen such amazing sand dunes in my life, and I have been to the Middle East. I've been to Egypt. I've been to Israel. So I've seen lots of sand dunes. But the ones in Namibia are the most exquisite. Henties Bay, I'll go for that. Just in case someone decides to bless me with a trip to Henties Bay. Let's not.
Be careful what you wish for, especially on the Real Dialogue platform. You'll never know. and your African dish doesn't have to. I mean, your favorite dish doesn't have to be African.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm not such a foodie, but I love dumplings, man.
I understand.
Yeah. No, but but I also love mabele. Mutokwa mabele.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, the brown one, the sour brown
Sure.
part.
Sure.
Yeah, I love.
Sure. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I mean to ask an academic and a professor this, but let me ask anyway. What are you currently reading, and your favorite book or books?
I've had a lot of favorite books in my life. I'm trying to pick one. I love Malcolm Gladwell, and
I understand.
my all-time favorite has to be David and Goliath.
I was thinking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing. I mean, I don't know. I wish I could meet him. I don't know whether he's a Christian or not, but he uses the story of David and Goliath to talk about the underdog.
Sure.
David the underdog, and how your circumstances, it doesn't matter how disadvantaged you are, they are an advantage. Your disadvantaged circumstances are your advantage, and he talks about how you draw on those. And it's the most powerful book. It's Malcolm Gladwell's David and Goliath. I'll recommend it. Actually, if I were Minister of Education, every child would have that book as set work somewhere in there. Probably when they start high school, I would make them read that because it's easy to read.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and he uses a story that many people would have heard in church, but he then analyzes Goliath. Why he was walking the way he did, a research on Goliath and how he was dressed, and what it means, how he walked, what it says about his state of mind, and so on and so forth. And he analyzes David, how David was trained, why that. I mean, and then he goes on to talk about so David looked like the underdog there, but he came out tops, and yeah, it's a story of the underdog. You can be the top dog, and I actually, think I've been that underdog who's become the top dog.
I love that. I absolutely love that. In fact, your current WhatsApp status, not status, but profile pic, said wear your tragedies as armor, not shackles. I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Love that.
Actually, my message this year is that every challenge that comes, it doesn't matter how big it is, tragedy, crisis, whatever that comes to you, don't just accept it. Actually, you must love it because it is meant for your good. People can laugh. People can say whatever. People can start writing your obituary and say it's the end of you. Love it, own it, because it is there for your good. You just have to be patient. In time, you will see. So don't shackle yourself too quickly.
Sure.
Own it. It will deliver. It's a matter of time.
Sure. Yeah. I'm not sure if your WhatsApp profile pic is your favorite quotation. If it is not, what is your favorite quotation or mantra?
I do have, and it's my screensaver. Be who you are. Don't take nonsense. Do not apologize for being fabulous, and stay the course. Okay, here. Be who you are. Don't take nonsense. Work hard. Don't apologize for being fabulous, and stay the course. You must stay the course.
Please tweet that as soon as we finish. Okay, please do that. Look, we have come to the end of our conversation, but let me say this to you. The world is a better place because you are here. Africa is definitely a better place because you are here. And our girls have got one more role model to look up to because you are here. And thank you so much for accepting that responsibility without being apologetic and yet being gracious. May God give you strength, because your success is every African child's and African girl child success. I wish you all the best and enjoy your few days there in Gauteng until you go back to Cape Town. And I hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a good evening. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being with us. Guys, thank you so much. And as I've mentioned, next week we are starting September. We are concentrating on, on different people. And next week we're having Dr. Mampele Rampele. And we're going to have another person, and I need to mention the one after that. But do enjoy your evening and join us again next week. And once again, in the words of Robert Sobukwe, remember Africa. All the best. May God bless you. Bye-bye.